So in case you haven't been in my yin classes before, I like questions, especially because someone else may be wondering the same thing, and it's also good to have dialogue. So at any point, if you have a question when you're in the pose or out of the pose or during the pose, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, right? Remember, we can all hear it and that's fine. Or send it in the chat, right? Okay? So perfect. All right, I'll go back to muting everybody, and you were all very quiet during that. All right, everybody's muted. Okay, of course, if you want your camera on, you can. Sometimes people will take their camera off, and that's okay too if you ever feel like you want that, okay? So feel free to come to a comfortable seat, right? Maybe you want to begin class lying down, right? Since I want to make sure everyone can see all of me, I'm going to kind of hang out in this forward fold for right now. But I just want you to start class however you want, in any way that you'd be comfortable. In yin, right, especially if you're used to it, we do have some discomfort present in a lot of the poses. But when we begin class, when we end class in Shavasana, I do want us to be as comfortable as possible. And however your body, your mind wants you to start class, just honor that. Sitting, standing, lying down, whatever you want to do, okay? So with that in mind, just take a minute to adjust, and you'll find stillness whenever you're ready. Maybe your eyes are open, maybe your eyes are closed, whatever is best for you. But I want us to think about something that I read earlier, it was probably a couple days ago, and it was this idea that we want, right, I think collectively we all kind of feel this, we want things to go back to normal, right? And you may be feeling this now, or you can think about maybe you felt it another time before in your life, where you want things to go back to normal as quickly as possible, right? The present is either too much, you don't like it, it could be inconvenient, so we're just hoping for things to go back to normal. But here's where we can kind of turn this around. When you're not living in a sense of normalcy, or what you define as normal, right? When you're not living there, right? Now we can take the time to come into stillness. We can take the time to evaluate for what parts of normal we do like, you know, and instead of just rushing back to what's normal, we can define what parts are worth rushing back to. Maybe we'll change our normal. Maybe we'll adapt to a new normal, and so on and so forth, right? And, you know, without even thinking of crisis, right? Even if we think about 5 years ago, 5 years before that, 5 years before that, right? We all had different types of normal, depending on how old we were, depending on the experiences that we've had. And even for myself, my normal has changed multiple times. So we all think that normal is a state of consistency, when really it's always changing, right? Our normal is always changing from year to year, week to week, day to day, okay? So as we come into practice today, we can work with that, right? How we want to adapt to normal, what parts of normal we want to keep, maybe some parts of normal that we want to change, okay? So whenever you're ready, feel free to close the eyes if you didn't already. And as you adjust into this space, letting yourself arrive into your internal environment. And when you start to draw your senses inward, maybe this is your normal. Hearing the breath, noticing the chest and the belly moving with the breath. And as you start to relax your body, as you start to soften through the jaw and release through the shoulders, right? As you relax through your torso, even letting the muscles of your glutes relax, all the way through your legs, down to your feet. And as you let your body release, maybe that's your normal. But sometimes we don't always get to live within this state of quote unquote normal. So be patient as you arrive. Maybe again, you relax into the jaw slightly more. Maybe you release into the space of your chest even more. And as you notice your breath deepening, maybe you notice your breath lengthening. Or maybe you can even feel your breath return to normal. Not too fast, not too slow, but just perfect to define within your state of being. And if your eyes are closed, if not, the gaze is soft. You're looking at something specific. Maybe it's a pattern on the floor, maybe it's a pattern of your clothing, maybe a pattern on the wall. But wherever your eyes are, let yourself notice something. Whether it's a texture, maybe it's a darkness, maybe it's a lightness, maybe it's a color. But whether your eyes are open or closed, you'll always be able to see texture, shade of color, and sometimes even an image. But as we constantly check into all parts of our being, noticing what's normal to the eyes, noticing what's normal to the tongue, noticing what's normal to the breath, to the heart, etc. We'll get this full body 360 definition, right, of how we want our normal to be, how we want to live up to that normal. Understanding that it's never consistent and it's always changing. It's always adapting, growing, transforming. So wherever you are, whether you're sitting or lying down, we'll take a few cleansing breaths together. When we do this, we'll inhale through the nose and we'll exhale out the mouth together. Okay, so whenever you're ready, we'll take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Again, like that, we'll inhale fully. Exhale completely. Do that one more time together. Whenever you're ready, take a breath in. And take a breath out. And as you return back to your natural breath, maybe there's a new sense of normal as there's heat. Maybe in the belly, maybe in the diaphragm, maybe in the neck. Just seeing what that sensation feels like. And whether you keep your hands relaxed within your lap, maybe you rest them on the belly or the chest, or you bring them into a prayer shape at heart center. Whatever is most comfortable for you. You're welcome to join me within the sound of Om, or you're welcome to listen. Together, we'll take a deep breath in. Keeping your eyes closed, you can gently bow your chin towards your chest. Take a moment to allow the vibrations to settle within the heart space. and allow them to seal your intentions for practice. Whenever you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes. You can bring the hands away. Okay, if you spent time lying down, you're welcome to maybe look towards your camera or come sit up. If you are sitting up, maybe you readjust your body and come out of the pose for a moment, however you were sitting. Okay, so we're gonna start in butterfly, but you're going to have two options, and I'll explain both, and then you'll choose what works for you. You're either gonna take butterfly folding forward, or laying down. So from this side, you can see the soles of my feet come together, right? Maybe you see them just like that. I'll back up. Boop. Soles of the feet together. And if my knees come out wide, I'm going to choose the forward fold option. I'll take my little shawl and I'll prop my pelvis. Maybe I take my pillow or bolster or blanket, maybe a block or a book, right? And I'm going to support myself as I fold. Okay. Sometimes though, you may want to just hug at your bolster or your pillow and just gently lean into it. That's fine too. It doesn't have to be this deep forward fold to be effective. Okay, but that's option one. Option two, you can bring the bolster, pillow, laying down vertically to support your spine. And if you choose to take butterfly lying down, it's the same shape. Soles of the feet together. You're going to take that support right to the tailbone and just lay back down. Right? Except I would want to support my head a little more, so I would scooch and then allow myself to relax. Okay, so feel free to choose one or the other. And then again, right, we're not in the room together, but feel free to message or unmute me and say, like, hey, butterfly doesn't really work for my body. Is there something else that I could do? So it's not an interruption, okay? We're all in the practice together. So take your time. Feel free to lay back down. And if you realize that, hey, I don't like that, then let yourself come into the other way. If you chose butterfly forward folding and you realize, hey, that doesn't work for my body like I thought it would, listen and then lay back down. Okay. So I'll give you a moment to adjust. Find what props work for you. And then you can close your eyes. From there, let yourself find stillness.
Just a heads up, it's saying your network bandwidth is low. Everything sounds good though, and you can still see it, so.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear it and everything's still going fine. It has that message on there, so just wanted to make you aware just in case.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you. Awesome. Great, great, great. I may say some fun facts that I'm figuring out with Zoom a little bit later on, but that is one of them. So, right, and that's still me trying to figure out my new normal. Right? And as we all adapt, we find times of comfort, we find times of discomfort. You may be feeling that within the stretch as well. But in the same way we started class, you can always come back to those tools, right, of noticing the breath, of softening your body, and notice what you see behind your eyelids. And maybe you choose to take yourself on a journey as you relax through your body. And some people like to move in a line. So you would start at your scalp, right? You'd relax your head and your skull. You may move to your temples, then you may move to the cheeks of your face. And some people like to work their way down. Others, right? Sometimes you may like to start at your feet. You may want to soften the space in between your toes. You may want to relax into the arches of your feet, releasing through the ankles. And then you awareness up your body. Some people may want to move like a ping pong machine and have their awareness relax your left shoulder and then your right shoulder. Relax behind the skin of your left knee and then relax your right knee. And then maybe you soften your lips and then maybe you soften your belly. And so there's all different ways, like adapt to your personality or adapt to how you're feeling. Whether you move your awareness from different places or you like to move in some sort of organizational line, just breathe into the space. You'll continue to notice sensation. And every time you adapt to that sensation, you have created a new normal. You can see in slow motion how normal will change second to second, minute to minute, or pose between pose, especially as we work within yin. So if you're in the middle of something, if your body wants you to stay exactly where you are, let yourself stay. Okay, but if you're ready to come out, we're going to start to release from this pose as we move slowly. So maybe your hands come to your outer thighs if you were laying down to help your legs come back. If you were forward folding, one arm at a time, you'll let yourself push down as you walk up. There's no right or wrong way to release. You just do this slowly, right? No rush. And if it feels good to reach the arms up above the head and stretch, you can. Right? If you're sitting, maybe this brings you into a twist. If you're laying back down, maybe you windshield wiper the knees from side to side and you let them shift to the right and shift to the left. The more intuitive, the better. And when you feel that you've released from your shape, and you've let go of butterfly, we come into a pause that I call rebound. And in rebound, you may take that on your back or your belly. Maybe you sit. Sometimes when I rebound, I always say this because I always do it, but I bring my knees, I wrap around my shins, and my forehead comes down. So wherever you want to take a pause, come into that shape that's comfortable. Child's pose, whatever. Within this pause, we get a chance to feel the stretch. We feel subtle sensations. And those are real. your fascia that we were stretching, contracting back to the joints, organs, the muscles within your body. And maybe we just get to feel what's normal to them. So if you're in the middle of something here, you're welcome to stay and rebound for as long as you want. But if you're ready, we're going to continue with our deer pose. Okay, so we're still going to stay within the lower regimen for a little bit. Starting with the left leg, your left shin, well, let me back up. Your left shin will come in front of you and your right knee comes back behind you. Okay, so if I was sitting cross-legged, I'm, for example, facing the front of my mat. My left shin is going to come parallel in front of me, about, it doesn't have to be exact, and my right knee opens up behind me. Just so that you can see me forward, left leg in front, right knee behind me. Now in this shape, we're allowing ourselves to forward fold. So you may need to make a few little stacks. Pillow, bolster, blanket, all on top of one another. Maybe you have a couple pillows and you do it like this instead. Somewhere so that your forearms can relax, spine can be straight. Or fold. Does someone want to tell me something?
If my my right hip doesn't stay down on the ground, it's.
You mean like coming to a blanket to help support you?
Yeah, I would have to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And I thank you for reminding me. When we sit, like right now, our left shin is in front of us. So that kind of brings, not kind of, it does, brings all of our weight into one side of our body. Some people will feel great in this, right? But other times we may want to support ourselves. So you can take a blanket, a pillow, a towel. I'm going to use my little shawl, and I just prop my tailbone. Okay. One more thing. Oh, do you have a question?
No, I'm just muting myself.
Okay, great. I thought someone else needed something. If you do, just feel free. But I do want to say something else about the right back knee. Some people are going to want to keep it far back. Maybe you get something happening in that back leg. Some people are going to want to keep that leg really close. Okay, so there's no perfect place, you know, and that's why sometimes yin can seem overwhelming because people want to know what they need to do and what shape they need to do and call it a day. But that's not what's normal in yin. What's normal is saying where does, if my knee is close, do I want to be there? Do I want to be here? Do I want to be here? Right? And you work within the mobility of your body. So I'll leave you there. But if you have a question, feel free. Sometimes I like to slide so that I can see everyone's screen.
Are we supposed to go all the way over?
So great question. You're not supposed to fold all the way over. For example, if I'm in the pose, I'm in deer, and just my spine needs to be straight, I'll just keep my hands on the floor. Maybe I walk forward, maybe I do fold, right? But kind of have to work with your entire body here, because if I forward fold to the floor, that may be too much sensation too quick, and I may need to start here and then work my way down as I'm in the pose. Is that helpful? Cool. Love it. Good, so feel free to adjust. And then when you're there, you can close your eyes And come to stillness when you're ready. Another tip real quick. That left shin that's in front of us, if you bring your shin really close to you, that's less sensation, because that shin is close to your body. But if you open that left shin up higher, like away from you, and continue to fold, that will be more sensation. So based on some of you look like, at least through the camera, that you can use a little more. So if you do need more, feel free to play around with the position of your legs. And if you need less, you pull back.
For the low back, I feel a little pinch. What suggestions, thoughts for that?
Yeah. So is it your back knee you said, Ryan?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
having a little like discomfort in the low back.
Do you have something underneath your tailbone?
A small blanket.
Okay. Does that feel enough though? Because sometimes I need to make it kind of high. Or maybe you're forward folding too deep. You may need to have a little bit more of a straight spine, even though mostly, because I've seen you in class, most of the time you can forward fold, but maybe you're just tighter today than normal. Than normal.
Yeah, feels a little bit better with a little bit more.
Okay. Okay, cool. Let me know if you need something else though, as we're here. Cool. Yeah, so and this is one of the greatest, this is why also I love the because even myself too in my own practice, sometimes as I fold, it could be because I need more support. Other times it means that I need more support, but I also just shouldn't fold at that moment. I shouldn't find the curve of the spine and then get an angle. A great thing about yin is that normal is constantly changing from day-to-day practice, even from morning, afternoon, and night. How you practiced last week is going to be different than how you need to practice today. And that's what's so cool. So if you haven't already tuned into the breath, begin to do so, check in. Are you holding your breath? Are you letting it move a little bit more freely? If you haven't sought, right, letting your awareness travel through the many places of your body. Allowing yourself to release unnecessary control. Allow yourself to release unnecessary tension. Because we're tuning in and listening, if at any point your body wants you to come out a little sooner, just go to rebound. We'll meet you in rebound. Right? You'll find that pause. Maybe you notice yourself adapting to sensation.
Can we do something for upper body also?
Oh, for stretching?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yes,
just a
that will be next.
okay, thank you. It's just a request. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Yeah. So we're just letting ourselves finish out this left side of deer. Then we're gonna move into the opposite side, and then we'll do some upper body. And sometimes you find yourself adjusting throughout the pose, and you continue to adjust. If you're in the middle of something and you want to stay here in this shape for longer, let yourself stay. But when you're ready to start to come out of deer, you can begin to guide your hands closer towards you, right? You can push down from the floor and start to walk your spine up, releasing the head and the chin. One leg at a time, maybe you unravel. One leg straighten, then the other. And sometimes it will feel good to forward fold there now that the backs of the knees and the calves are elongating. Maybe again, you cross at the shins, you stretch from side to side. Okay. And I cue this as intuitive because it doesn't matter how you move. Right now I'm coming into child's pose and it will feel good to you after some time in deer, especially if you did feel something in your low back. If you want a little release, feel free to try child's pose. Right, but whenever you're ready, you'll allow yourself to find that pause. Are you sitting? Are you lying down? Are you in some sort of shape? Right, but again, you'll close your eyes and you'll find stillness. And you'll just let yourself arrive. The experience from the stretch is the catalyst to bring you here and rebound. Maybe in the stretch, we work through the discomfort and we work through what's abnormal to come into that openness of rebound, that freedom in this pause so that we can define what is normal or what we do feel, like, think, etc., etc. So if you're in the middle of something, stay in rebound for as long as you want to. You can stay in rebound for the rest of the class. Or when you're ready, you can come into deer on the opposite side. So feel free to shift around, and again, maybe that's taking an extra prop, propping your right sitting bone now, maybe a little bit more than the left because the right shin comes in front now. The left knee back behind us. Okay. And if you realize like, oh, hey, I could have used that pillow from the other bedroom, just feel free. You can go out and get something real quick and just come back. Okay. If your body, I'm also going to talk about another tidbit. If your body moves over the knee or naturally moves towards the foot, just honor that. It doesn't have to be a perfect fold over the shin by any means. You can go a little bit more to one side, a little bit more towards the other side, and that's how your body naturally curves. If that back hip, that inner hip is talking to anybody, sensation is okay. I usually have sensation there myself. But if you feel like you need less, bring that left knee closer towards you. If your glutes or your lower back, if you feel like a pull, not a stretch, if it feels more like a pull, don't fold as deeply, back up. Whenever you're ready, you'll close your eyes. You'll come to stillness. And you'll arrive into the space of your body. You can arrive into the sounds of your breath, into the texture of your breath. And when we let ourselves find stillness, which may be hard, but when we let ourselves find stillness, we create this holding effect. And I'll explain a little bit what I mean. I usually, if you've taken class with me before, I like to say that the fascia is like a fishing net. Or maybe you think of it as a spider web. But if you picture this netting that holds the pieces of our body together, right? It cradles us. The fascia, this webbing, holding all bones and muscles and organs, so nothing falls apart. And in the way that our body always cradles us, when we find stillness, we get to create this cradle effect for the body itself. We cradle the body back, just like the fascia cradles us. So as you let yourself soften, you soften more and more into that netting, into that fiber, into that web. Continue to release unnecessary control. Continue to find comfort within discomfort. Continue to arrive into the space of your internal environment. We're going to stay in this pose a little longer. Of course, you don't have to. You can always come out sooner. The one reason I don't tell you how long the time will be is because I want you to learn how your body speaks to you. I want you to have conversation with yourself. And I don't need you to remember or to worry about 1 minute left, 2 minutes left, or however long it is. Our normal, quote unquote, normal, I'm making air quotes, is to live life by time. You get this done, then you have an hour to do this, a half hour to do this, 5 minutes to do this, right? It's such a part of our normal vocabulary. And within this space that doesn't exist for you, I'll keep track of the time. You just breathe into the experience. Learn from your body. Because that's really what normal should be. So let yourself spend a few more moments here. If you'd like to stay in deer a little longer, more than welcome to do so. However, if you're choosing to release from deer, please move slowly, okay? Take your time as you walk up, out of the pose. Sometimes your body will find a shape that looks like yoga. Sometimes it won't, and it'll just be your natural way of moving or rounding. Sometimes cat-cow even feels good after some time with the body in a fold. Side to side. Let yourself twist. And I'm gonna take this rebound laying down on my back. Now, however you want to take that pause, I'm going to even bring my knees in my chest, right? That's just what's speaking to me intuitively, and I'll honor that. When you feel that you've taken enough movements to release, again, you'll let yourself close your eyes. You'll come to stillness, and you'll observe. Maybe you can feel a true awareness to your hips, to your glutes, to your knees, to your feet. Maybe there's a subtle tingle, vibration, maybe a buzz, a presence. Sometimes you feel shifts within your breath, a sudden inhale and a deep exhale as your nervous system resets itself. The science behind the practice is outstanding. So continue to let your body create new normal, right? Health, wellness, etc. So, if you're in the middle of something, you're welcome to stay exactly where you are. Okay, if you're choosing to release, you can do so slowly. You'll arrive back into a seated position. No rush at all. Okay, I'm going to start talking about, I'm actually going to start talking about the next two poses, and then feel free to join in whenever you'd like. So we're going to come into open wing. Sometimes people may know it as broken wing. I call it open wing. I'll explain that. And then I'm going to show you real quick a new pose I'm going to teach, because I only think one of you did this pose with me at the studio, so I would like to do it here. So let me just show you both, and then we'll talk it out together real quick. So the first pose that we're going to come into right now is called open wing. We're going to be lying on our belly for this pose. Let me get to my belly. Can you see me? Yes. And that left arm is going to come out to a T shape. So I'm bringing everything down to the floor, right? So with the left arm out to T, you'll roll into the shoulder. Okay, and I just want to show you from this way. So once my arm comes out to T, I roll into the shoulder. You can start with your knees and your chest. If your low back is bothering you, or if your low back is tight today, bring your knees into your chest. Okay, if you want a little bit more, just straighten out your legs. Okay. And if you want more than that, your top leg will drop back behind you, maybe come in front of you. And these are all ways to deepen that left shoulder, or the sensation in your spine or your hips. Okay, and as you get into that, feel free to ask questions. But the cool thing is that our next pose is where we're gonna come with our elbow behind our back, and I'll talk about that later, but point of my story is now we're gonna lengthen the arm and then we're gonna bend the arm, okay? So, and maybe I should do, does anyone need me to do it again? I know it's kind of inconvenient, right? You gotta get up and, okay, no. So, as you come, make sure you come to your belly first. Left arm opens out to a T shape. You'll roll into the shoulder, right? Some people, right, and last week actually someone had this question. If your elbow joint bothers you, if your neck bothers you, bring a pillow, a blanket, something underneath your head so that it's supported. Okay, make sure your head isn't hanging in the air by any means. Your head is either on the floor or on a support. My camera may be moving because I just want to slide a little bit and see. Awesome. Maybe your legs start in one of the variations and then you can change as you move on throughout the pose. Remember, there's no right or wrong shape. There's no right or wrong way to look. There's no right or wrong way to feel.
Any specific spot for the right arm or just?
Great question. So I'll try to explain this, but of course, if someone wants to see, that's fine. But your right elbow can bend and the hand can stay right in front of the chest, just like a little support, like a kickstand. But the right arm can also reach up and behind the low back. If you want to take a half bind, the right elbow can bend behind the low back. If that feels good. Too, especially if you wanted to try this, if you lift your right arm up and over your ear and let the hand rest to the top of the floor, that may change sensation from the left arm. But since you've been in class, or if you've been in yin many times, of course, anyone can try this and that may feel interesting to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you haven't softened into your pose, begin to do so. Not thinking of just muscle groups, not thinking of just the cheeks of the face, not just thinking of the shoulder bones, not just thinking of the fingers. Of course, let's soften, let's create space. But as we let ourselves reclaim more and more space, we can soften into the spaces of the organs. We've never come in contact with our lungs, with our heart, right? But we know where they are. We can sense them and relax into them. As we release into the space of the diaphragm, we can let ourselves relax into the spaces between the ribs as you feel even a bigger or deeper release to the belly. Not just to the skin of the belly, but all of the organs within our abdomen. Letting everything soften into that netting, that fascia that lets us do so much consciously, subconsciously, when we're awake, when we're asleep. As you soften, sometimes sensation of stretch could intensify. Sometimes it will soften itself. Sometimes sensation will become really light and disappear. Feel free to come back to your breath if you'd like. And if you're in the middle of something here in open wing, you're more than welcome to stay. Okay, but if you're choosing to release, keep your left arm still. If your top leg is back behind you in any way, guide both knees, both legs together first, slowly, making sure that right hand is in front of your chest to help you. And then you can slowly roll to the chest, roll out of that upper arm, and feel free to just take a moment on your belly here. Maybe the arms snuggle up underneath your chest. If it feels good, maybe you kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees from side to side. If that feels good for anybody. Once the legs relax, if your hands come near your chest, and whether you pull forward for a low cobra, maybe you lift higher for an upward facing dog, just to find some extension in the spine. And maybe that brings you back to a child's pose. Some people may find a down dog. Some people may just stay on their belly. But whatever feels intuitive, you're taking, right, the energy from the stretch, from that strong but stretchy fiber, that elastic, right? And you let it move you, and then you let it come back to stillness. There into a moment to observe as we reflect, or maybe we come back to focus if you felt a little distracted by any means. Just because we're in rebound does not mean the pose is over. Your fascia is still settling back. Your body is still absorbing what just occurred for it. And you feel that, maybe that glimpse of meditation or concentration, mindfulness, however you'd like to define it. Okay, so if you're in the middle of something, you can stay here and rebound for as long as you'd like. Maybe you kind of shift around, maybe you do push back to child's pose for a moment, or come to sit, whatever it may be, but eventually we'll come back to the belly so that we can go into open wing on the opposite side. All right, feel free to shift your body around. Your right arm this time is opening out to T for you to roll into the shoulder. And for whatever reason, if you did your right arm now, do the left arm, right? It's okay. If you have a question, feel free. I'm going to check to see if anyone sent in a chat. No. Okay, good. Maybe you play around, right, with that placement of the left arm, whether it's in front of the chest, up and around the low back to take a half bind, or maybe you did try that arm lengthening up over the ear, resting above the crown of the head. You may have been in one variation for the legs on that first side, maybe different here. So we want to try to treat each side of the body as its own. Each side of the body may need different things. One side of the body may be tighter than the other. And sometimes, maybe we've all been there, right? Where we feel knots, right? Or tight tissue. Maybe it's even dehydration in certain points. But we can't blame the fascia for creating the knot in the shoulder or in the back or in the glute, because it's just responding to its normal. Whether we've had an injury there, or maybe we put a lot of weight into that one particular foot, and then the rest of the fascia all the way up to the crown of the head becomes tight. So as we let ourselves learn from the body, as we take note of what the body defines as normal, we get to fine tune it. We get to work to create new patterns, keep new patterns. What's beautiful is that our body continues to cradle us, right? That fascia holds us through all of our growth, through all of our transformation. Our body exhibits all the times we've changed our normal. Maybe you check back in, allow yourself to soften, maybe soften a little more. Check back in with the breath, make sure it's present. Maybe you let yourself look at your eyelids here, at your internal screen. Just let yourself notice and observe, just like you would sensation, just like you would the breath. And whether you're stretching an open wing, if it's the right arm or you're at your left arm, that's fine. Just keep that arm still. If you decide to come to release out of the pose, you'll do so slowly, making sure that opposite arm travels back in front of the body. Making sure that one leg is stacked again on top of the other. And then as you slowly roll to your chest, again, you'll guide yourself out of the pose within its own experience. Maybe you come into a few movements again with kicking up the feet and windshield wipering the legs. That's good. If lifting the chest and extending the spine feels good. Or maybe you just come right to rebound. Whether you stay on your belly, on your back, maybe you roll to your side of the body with the knees and the chest. Where does your experience take you? Just honor that as we pause in our rebound. Maybe your breath or the texture of the breath sounds different now that you've been in class. Maybe you can even sense your heartbeat slightly more. Maybe you can feel like you're truly tuning inward with a bunch of receptors, just learning, receiving information, and experiencing. Okay. If you're in the middle of rebound, you're welcome to stay in your meditative state for as long as you like. If you're ready for our next pose, this will probably be our last pose, before Shavasana, of course. And like I said, I think only very few of you have done this with me inside of the studio, so I'm going to explain it here at a few different angles and chime in if you need anything or if you have a question. So our pose here, which I also don't have a name for it yet, so if anyone has something creative, feel free to share it. But just like we take binds at our low back, I'm going to just bring my back to you for a second. Our left arm is going to travel behind us, right? Maybe it stops here, maybe it stops there, or maybe it's somewhere in the middle, okay? But what happens is we're going to allow ourselves to lay back down. Our knees are going to bend, feet flat to the floor. And as I pick my hips up, I'm going to walk my forearm, my left forearm underneath. So I'm basically laying on my forearm, okay? Sometimes you have to walk the hand lower. Sometimes you're going to have to bring the arm higher. It just depends on your spine and where you naturally curve. Another thing, if your shoulder bone kind of digs down into the floor, which it may naturally do, you can take a blanket, prop your head, or even prop your shoulder if you want. Okay? Having the palm underneath you, just the palm, less sensation. As you walk your forearm deeper underneath you, more sensation. Okay? Another thing too, knees can be bent, feet flat to the floor, less sensation. You can lengthen one leg for more, or feel free to do both legs. Okay, but at any point, if that becomes too much, bend one knee or bend both knees. Okay, cool. So feel free to come into it, and then once you're in it, if you have a question, feel free to ask. It's funny because I can't see anyone's bodies once we're on the floor, but feel free to ask if you need something. Okay. Remember, you can start with both knees bent, feet flat to the floor, and then slowly as you arrive, one leg could go long and then the other. The reason why I like having both knees bent, feet flat to the floor, is that may be most helpful to you as your spine and lower back adjusts here. And then as you're ready for more, legs can go long. So once you find the best position for you to begin within, again, you'll close your eyes, you'll find stillness. And this is a very interesting stretch that truly honors and is an example to how our fascia is connected. That netting is connected in one piece from head to toe, no separation. Some people may feel this through their collarbone, their actual shoulder, maybe even their shoulder blade. Sometimes people will just feel this along their tricep and their bicep. I usually feel it in my forearm and my wrist. Make sure your palm is softened and that there's space between the fingers. And I was working with one student who felt a lot of this stretch through their diaphragm and their belly. I've had experiences with people who feel it in their hips and their IT bands. So many ways of normal. So just honor whatever that is for you today. Within that process of softening, letting go of unnecessary tension, letting yourself release into unnecessary control. Right? Not controlling how you want your normal to be, but honoring whatever experience you feel. Let's keep the left arm still. Let's keep that arm underneath the back a little more. But if both legs are straight out, can you slowly bend one knee and then bend the other knee so that your feet come flat to the floor, right? So then maybe you start to feel sensation lessen as fascia contracts back. You can begin to pick up the hips whenever you're ready, unraveling that arm from the lower body. And is it natural for the hands to just open out to the sides of you? Maybe the arms come into a T shape. Maybe you reach them up above the head. Maybe you hug the knees into the chest and you wrap around the shins as you rock a little side to side, or maybe you just let yourself pause here. So this will be our last pose, our last side before we come to Shavasana. Again, you can keep those knees bent, so as we can start. But now your right arm will travel underneath you, and maybe you're picking up your hips to walk your arm underneath. Again, you can start with the knees bent, or the legs, one going long at a time, or both. Begin to arrive whenever you're ready. Letting yourself breathe into sensation. And since you are home, maybe you have some comfortable props around you, some pillows that you enjoy, some blankets that you enjoy, that you like, texture, softness, color. Right? Sometimes our pets help us. Always finding comfort and discomfort simultaneously. And rather than just focusing on one of those, right? Rather than only seeing comfort, rather than only seeing discomfort, we try to find a union of both. Learning from both, because one is not better than the other. One should not distract our attention more than the other, but they're a way for them to both coexist, so that our breath stays present, so that we learn from our bodies, we can tune into that inner voice, finding a sense of concentration through comfort and discomfort. So that right arm that's underneath us, or whichever arm it is, keep it still. Right? The legs are straight. You'll slowly bend into the knees, guide each foot back to the mat. And as you slowly move, you'll adjust for that right arm to straighten, to wiggle out from underneath you. Right? And hopefully that opposite arm was also just relaxed in some way. Now they both could freely move, whether up above the head, whether you want to hug at the chest, maybe you let both arms hug at the body. Right? But feel free to take your last movements, last adjustments, and then you can decide how you want to take your Shavasana. Maybe you're going to stay on your back with a blanket. Maybe you'll roll to your side and have your knees in the chest. Maybe you roll to your belly. You take Shavasana on your belly. However you choose though, just choose just like you did in the beginning of class. No right or wrong. Let yourself be comfortable. And as you begin to arrive into your space for Shavasana, maybe one more time, you just check in with the entire body, letting yourself soften. Tuning into the breath if that's comfortable. Maybe tuning into the gaze behind your eyes if that's interesting. And let yourself fully rebound in the entire practice. Let's spend a few moments together here. Of course, you're more than welcome to stay exactly where you are. If you choose to, allow yourself to deepen your breath. Just feel a little bit more of a robust inhale and a deeper exhale. Maybe the sound of the breath is a little louder. And as you start to gently come back into the space of your body, you'll come back into the space of the room and of the virtual room where we're all together. You can notice the placement of your hands and feet, beginning to wiggle the fingers and toes, maybe even roll the wrists and ankles. If it feels good to reach the arms up above the head, feel free to take a full body stretch. If your knees bend and your feet come flat to the floor, right, you can do this in any position. Maybe you windshield wiper the knees, depending on how you've taken Shavasana, but you can always find a windshield wiper to the knees. That feels good. And by hugging the knees into the chest, you can roll either to the right or to the left side. Whatever feels most intuitive, right? Just honoring the experience that we're creating for the body, honoring the experience, how the body responds. So just roll to the left or to the right. Just taking a short pause there to reflect from Shavasana. In the same way we reflected from our previous poses. Feeling its subtleness, feeling its memory, sense of aliveness. You can choose to end your practice here, or you can slowly push down into the floor. We'll all make our way back to a seated position, unless you've chosen to stay lying down. So that is whatever is best for you, is best for me. Okay, but once you've come into your final position of class, feel free to find stillness. And then again, you can close your eyes if that's comfortable. And just notice the natural lift to your spine, to your rib cage, maybe even a lift through your collarbones. Can you notice any freedoms to the breath? Notice any space, any clarity within the mind. Let's take a cleansing breath together. We'll inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. If you'd like to bring the hands into a prayer shape at heart center, or leaving the hands wherever most comfortable for you, you can join together in the sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. Om. Gently bow your chin towards your chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste. Thank you. If we were in the studio, I like to thank everybody individually. So I'll pretend that I'm going around. But let me unmute us just for a second so we can hear all of our voices. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or if you want to reach out, you can anytime. But thank you for coming to class. I'll be here on Mondays, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
You're
Good night.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. Oh, let me see how. Wait, Hallie, can we talk about it now real quick?
Yeah,
Or would you rather chat?
we can talk about it. I didn't know.
Have a good night, Luciana.
Oh, bye, Ryan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your help.
But
Thank you.
You're welcome, Chaya. Thank you too.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.